Okay, so my name is Jennifer Beahan. I'm the Assistant Director of Center for Inquiry Michigan, and I actually am a music teacher by degree. So everything I have learned about nonprofit administration, volunteer management, I had to learn as I go. And one of the things that I learned as a teacher was that you never want to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. So please beg, borrow, steal. Save yourself a lot of time and trouble, and learn from the things and the mistakes that I have made. And so hopefully you guys can do a better job on your campuses because you are all volunteers, right? So this is a way, we're talking about effective communication this weekend. Effectively managing volunteers is one of the ways that you can more effectively communicate with your leaders, communicate with your group members, and communicate with your campus and the community at large. So a lot of this stuff is cross-applicable to campus. The same thing is applicable to community groups or even to larger organizations with a lot of staff. So before you get volunteers, you need to be prepared for them. So prepare the systems and resources that you need to handle volunteers before you ask for help, and that's what I'm going to show you the basics of today. Now, one of the things to remember is start small. Oh, that's the next slide. Prepare your group leaders to work with additional volunteers. And now you guys are all volunteers. This isn't like a staff of some big corporation that is being told they have to work with students that are coming in to volunteer. So it's a little bit more ground level for you guys. But don't ask for new volunteers if you can't handle them and you can't put them to work right away. The worst thing that you can do is, Rebecca, can you come help me with something? Sure, what do you want me to do? Oh, I'm not ready yet, hold on. You know, so, and because they're not gonna wanna help after that. But I know that all of you, I'm sure, could use more help in organizing events, in promoting your group to your campus, or just getting basic things done. So let's get you set up so that you can be ready for volunteers. Start small. Ask a few of your core members that you know are going to be reliable to help you first. And have them help you fill key positions, even if it's just temporarily, until you can find someone who's really gung-ho about being your PR person or being your event planning person. So these are all of the things that you need in order to develop an effective volunteer management system, and we're going to go through each of these steps. So the needs assessment. Basically, this is why do you want volunteers? Okay? Everyone needs volunteers. We have limited staff, we have our time and financial resources. Why that's out of order? That's weird. Okay. So what are some of the benefits of having additional people helping you? Having people volunteer for your group gives them a sense of ownership. Okay? Your volunteers are going to be your most dedicated members. They're going to show up and they're going to help you until the job is done. It also spreads out the workload. You are going to graduate. Well, hopefully. I mean, that's the goal, right? So you need to spread the workload out, because if you're the only one doing anything, the minute you graduate, what's going to happen to your group? You need people to take ownership, and you need other people to know how things work and how to do things well so that your group is successful and lasts beyond your graduation day. Also, different people have different interests. You can bring in some people who really, really make awesome posters, and you can't even you don't even know which way is up in Photoshop, okay? So bring in people, and the best way to put somebody right to work is say, okay, everybody, who here knows how to use Photoshop? And then you say, great, can you design a poster for our speaker? And they go, great. And that'll take them a quarter of the time it'll take you. It also helps you to be a bit more objective. You know, as Steph was just saying, you know, the people who want to be in leadership tend to be the most gung-ho about a group. But sometimes having different perspectives and having different people from different diverse backgrounds actually will help you be more effective, because maybe your particular way of thinking about it is fine, but there might be other ways of doing things as well. So this is, I'm just going to really quickly have you read this, but so these are all the questions that you want to ask to prepare yourself for engaging volunteers, because this is going to help you communicate to the volunteers why you need their help and how you want them to help. What is your mission of your group? What do you want to accomplish? What is your goal? And how can they help you meet those goals so you can make a difference on your campus? Again, it's written down. You'll get the slides later. So then you take all of the answers to those questions you just answered and you make up a purpose statement. Okay? It only has to be a couple sentences long, but it helps you as a leader of your group and the rest of your group leaders communicate effectively to your members exactly how you're going to use those people who help you volunteer. This helps get your group leaders on board with you. You need to have the rest of your buy-in and support to get other people involved. And it also helps you define your group and how the volunteers will engage, because if not, like Steph, actually I'm glad I walked in at the very end of that other presentation. If you get one really powerful leader, they can take the group and like skew it all the way to one side of the spectrum, right? Maybe you want to have a broader appeal on campus. So you need to define basically what the tone of the group is going to be, and help educate your leaders and your volunteers as to how that is, so that you can make sure that you don't get off track. Okay? Basically keep everybody on the same page. Communication, right? And it will also tell the volunteers what they're going to be expected to do. So here's CFI Michigan's. We have paid staff, so this will be a little bit different, but obviously you just adapt it to wherever you guys are at. Center for Inquiry Michigan encourages the active involvement of volunteers to guarantee the success of our programs and to achieve our mission to foster a secular society, and that's the rest of our mission statement. Volunteers contribute their unique talents, skills, and knowledge to benefit our growing community and to provide support to our staff. So why do people want to volunteer? Okay. With campus groups especially, it's because they like the idea, right? They want to get involved, they want to make a difference. Okay? It also gives volunteers a chance to learn new things. It gives them a purpose because they are then involved and really engaged in your group, and they will help you fulfill your mission. Some people do actually have service requirements also, and I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so now you know what you're going to do with your volunteers. Now you need to decide what you are going to expect of them. And this actually kind of is an answer to the question that the guy in the back asked with Steph, with controlling the tone of people you get a really loud, gung-ho, anti-theist atheist who just wants to tell everybody how wrong they are. And that's fine in a certain context, but you're right, it would badly represent your group in some things. So having these policies, you can actually make a policy of what the expectations are for the behavior of group leaders and volunteers when they are representing your group. If it's just them on the street having an argument with the street preacher who came by, that's different. But if they're acting as a representative of your group, then it's more important that their behavior is consistent with the tone that you want to establish for your campus group. Okay, so you need some sort of application so that the member can say, I want to volunteer, here's how you can get a hold of me. Okay? It can be as simple as name, phone number, mailing address, and what computer programs you know how to do. Okay? I use an online application for our group. And this is more extensive because I do actually have quite a lot of different positions that I engage people in. And so you probably don't need this much. But this uses an expression engine, but you can actually, there's a thing called Google Forms now, where you can actually create a form that looks like this on Google Docs, and it will save it for you in a spreadsheet. And then you have all the information all typed up and everything. And so here's contact information, their t-shirt size, any skills they have, and this is so that they can tell me what they want to do. Okay? A lot of people check everything, but Come on. Go back. Give me my presentation back. Fine, go away. All right. So you need an application. We already talked about a policy manual. So if there are certain things that you want people to do or not do, this can even be everything from what you want them to wear when they are doing a tabling event to the non-harassment policy or anything else that you think is important. There is a volunteer manual, policy manual that is provided in the data dump that I will give you if you give me your email address. And you also need to start a volunteer database. This can just be an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Docs spreadsheet where you just capture the information. Because that way you know who can help, and any other of the details that you collect, their contact information, their availability, their skill sets, you want to put that all in a database. That way, when you graduate, you can hand it right off to the next person, and it's not something just stuck in your head. Then you need to decide what those volunteers are going to do. So you need to decide what their jobs are. And these are the things that you can do to break up a job description. This is really important. Tell people how much time it's going to take them to do the job you need them to do, and when do you need it done by. Because then they can actually make a proper commitment to you, and then you will actually have better luck with them following through with what they've agreed to do, because it was very clear up front what the expectation was. Okay? This is one of the things I learned through trial and error early on. Okay? So don't make the same mistake as I do. Give them a deadline, tell them how much it is going to be reasonably to do that. Now, here's a cautionary note. Say you've been organizing events on your campus for 3 years. It takes you 4 hours to do all the paperwork, room reservations, et cetera, et cetera. When someone else does something for the first time, it will take them 2 to 3 times as long to do the same job. Okay? So when you give them the time commitment, say, well, this takes me about 2 hours. Okay? The first couple times it might take you like 3 or 4 just because you're going to be getting used to the process. Okay? But then after you do it a couple times, it'll be a lot easier. Okay? So overestimate if you have to. And then who are they responsible to when they're done? Okay? This is part of the clear communication. They need to know who they're going to talk to, and they need to know who to tell when they're finished. One thing you can do is, that I'll talk about in a minute, is have a checklist for your event planning so that everybody has access to it, and when the job is completed, you just put your initials and the date. And then when the other person on your planning committee goes in and looks, they know it's done because they can see right there that you said you finished it. And then if there's a problem, they know exactly who to go back to find out, okay, what was the confirmation number for our room reservation? Right? Now finding your volunteers. Okay? Recruitment is an ongoing process. Most people won't volunteer unless you ask them to help. Okay? I think it's like 10% of people will like walk up and say, hi, I'm here, what can I do? Okay? Most people don't do that. But if you walk up and you say, hey, I really need some help setting up those chairs, would you be willing to spend 10 minutes and help me do it? Sure. Okay? No problem. So ask people for help. Be specific, like I just was. Tell them what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and how long it's going to take. You can do generic or open appeals at meetings, but you will not have a great response. Okay? These are great for if you just need a bunch of people to help move stuff or anything that's a non-skilled job. But if there are specific skill sets you need in a volunteer, you'd be better off talking to your members for a little bit and say, oh, hey, you know Photoshop? We really could use some help making posters for our upcoming event. Would you be willing to do that? Because then you already know they have the skill sets for the job that you're asking them to do. Okay? General appeals are great if you're doing a big event and you need a lot of people. Okay? And like I said, with a specific appeal, if you have a specific thing you need to get done, ask them if they have the skill first, and then ask them if they'll do the job. And then the same requirements we said earlier, what's the time commitment, what skills do they need. And since you've already built this database, look through your database and find out which of your volunteers knows how to do the basic thing you need to do, and ask them specifically to do that. You can also use social media. If you're friends with a bunch of your members, a lot of times people will put their interests on their profile, right? So you can kind of scan through some of your members and do a little bit of data mining. So if it's a newer person, you don't know them very well, and find out what their interests are before you go and start asking people. Oops. All right, so for campus groups, you're mostly going to be asking the people who are already engaged in your group or new members to volunteer. Corporations and businesses do oftentimes have volunteer programs, but that would be something if you're doing like a large collaborative event that would be a one-time thing that you would need to bring in a bunch of people for. So that probably wouldn't apply to you guys very much as students. You can ask your friends, you can ask your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you can ask your family, but don't ask them too much, okay? Because they're your family, they're gonna try and help you, okay? Or your friends. But don't take them for granted either, because you have to make sure that you thank them a lot. I'm gonna skip that one. The other side of this is you need to tell the volunteer what is in it for them. So how are they going to benefit from the experience? A lot of this is intangible, right? They want to be involved in your group. They're going to feel involved because they're helping out. But the same thing, are there other perks at the same time? Are there other perks from volunteering? Do they get free t-shirts? Do they get pizza? Do they get stickers? Whatever. Because volunteering is a physical contract, aka they're agreeing to do something for you. But it's also a psychological contract. What are they getting out of it up here? How does that fulfill an emotional need? And if you can make sure that you tell them, thank you, you really made a big impact today for the freshmen on our campus, and that was so important, and I'm really glad you could be a part of that. And they go home going, oh, that was so nice, right? So be specific. Tell them what the benefits are, and then tell them what they get out of it, and how they're helping you as well. All right, so you've created your profile so people can apply, and you've got your volunteer database set up. So now you have this list of people. How do you evaluate them? Well, you look at the information that they gave you. Okay. The other part of this is if you have people who are already involved, leaders, older members of the group, have them do the volunteer application too, even though they're already involved, because that way you have the information all in one place. Follow up promptly with people once they fill out an application. Even if you can't put them to work right away, at least let them know that you got their application and that you appreciated them taking the time to fill that out and that you will be in touch with them. I actually have an autoresponder on my volunteer profile, so I don't have to write an email every time somebody fills one out. That tells them, thank you, we'll be in touch. So it can be that short. And have someone designated in your group as your volunteer coordinator. That's one of the first volunteer positions you'll want to fill. And have them and a couple of your leaders that you trust and that are, you know are reliable to review the applications and to help people get started. And I do a full formal orientation for my volunteers. I will walk you through the process that I do, but you just decide how much you need the people to do on your campus group. But this is your chance to set the expectations and to help them know what their responsibilities are. So try not to skip this step if at all possible. I know that sometimes you just need volunteers to help you do one thing right now. That's fine. But if you're going to have ongoing people help out, and really you should consider your group leaders as your core volunteer set, right? Because you guys are volunteers. That way it'll help the communication between the leaders as well if you're all following these ideas. So what I do at my volunteer orientation is the very, very first thing is I give them an introduction to CFI, like Debbie and Lauren did last night. Tell them what you are about. Tell them what your group's goal is, what your group's mission statement is, and what the tone that you expect to achieve. Because if you start out right at the beginning saying that, you'll have a lot less problems down the road. Then go over your policies with your volunteer manual, and if there's any paperwork that you want to have them do, whether it's harassment policy, we have to do liability and talent releases so that if someone gets their picture taken at an event, I don't have to go back and ask them later if I can use that in a brochure. So there's a bit more structural things that I have to do as a larger organization. But you can have people fill out a contact information form or whatever you need. But the biggest thing is the orientation to the group so that they know the history and they know what the expectations are. Then, depending on the position, you might need to do some training. If there's a particular process on your campus for setting up room reservations, you need to tell your new volunteer who's agreed to help you with that what to do the first couple times. Okay? I'm going to skip that one, but this is a way to help evaluate and put your volunteers to work based on their skills. And here's a very, very important thing. Do not assign tasks to volunteers. Ask them if they are willing to do a particular job. I have a wonderful lady who comes into my office and she works for 4 to 8 hours every Monday. And she even comes in other times during the week if I need her for other big events. But I almost made a big mistake one time of asking her to call members to get them to donate money for an event. She absolutely hates that idea. But I asked her and she said, you know, I'm really not comfortable doing that. Oh, good. Okay, I will ask Stephanie to do it because I know Stephanie loves to talk to people on the phone. Then that will be a much better role for her. Renee will do anything that has to do with phone calls as long as she's not asking people for money. Easy. So I actually wrote that down in her profile because now that way I make sure nobody else asks her to do something like that either. This is again, make sure that they're interested, and if you're asking them, that will be your first role. You can read through all of those details later. All right, so now you've got your volunteers trained. They know what their expectations are, and you're ready to get them started. Job 1, you take out the trash, okay? You do the dishes, or whatever it is that needs to be done, okay? If a volunteer, this is leading by example. So if your group leaders are willing to do the dirty work, the volunteers know, all right, they're willing to do the stuff that needs to get done. I will be happy to help them. But if you ask your brand new volunteer, oh, hey, can you go take out the garbage while you sit and put away the brochures, it doesn't really set a very good example. Clearly define your volunteer roles, okay? The job descriptions, it might seem like a lot of work, but they really only have to be like a couple lines long, okay? Divide your larger complex roles into individually managed jobs or tasks, or set up a group of volunteers to work together to do a larger project so it's not overwhelming. Or the last part of that one is train multiple people for important positions, okay? You need more than one person in the group who knows how to make room reservations, okay? Or whatever that really key thing is that has to get done to keep your group going. Because what if somebody gets sick? What if you have a fight with your boyfriend and your boyfriend was the other group leader and he was the only one who knew how to actually reserve the room? That's not a very good situation you want to end up in. Be explicit when assigning the roles, okay? I think I've already said this, but if in doubt, overestimate the time it'll take and be very clear. So this is as simple as, hey, Rebecca, do you have some time on Friday? We need to put up posters for our lecture next Thursday, and I'm going to be going out from 5 to 8. Would you might be able to come with me? And she can check her calendar, and she go, yeah, sure, okay? And set deadlines. I still forget this all the time. But if you send someone a stack of posters and say, hey, can you put this up for the lecture? and then you go walking around campus 4 days later and you don't see that the posters are up anywhere, well, maybe they didn't have time till the weekend, but you didn't tell them when they wanted to have it done by, so they didn't know they should have it done yet. So set deadlines. Skip that. All right, let me jump to some of the resources. So if you have a thing that needs to be done over and over and over again, create a procedure guide or a guide, or I use what I call quick start guides. So they're the step-by-step process or the tasks that people need to do on a regular basis so that it's done consistently and it's done well. So I have training guides. This is my grammar standards. I have a bunch of different people across Michigan that help create event listings, help draft emails, press releases. This way I know that we're using a consistent format, a consistent tone, and it also tells them how to do it. So I don't have to sit there and tell each person every time what the job is and what the task is. And this is great because you will have turnover. You have people that will get really, really involved for 1 year, and then they are applying for their master's program and they just fall off the face of the planet. So if you have it written down, then you can just hand the sheet to the next person and you don't have to do that work over and over again. This is kind of the best thing that we've got right now for cloning. Right? Write down how you do it so that way you don't have to be there and other people can take the responsibility. This allows you to delegate effectively. And you then, once you've trained your volunteers and given them the resources, you have to trust them to do it well. Okay? I know a lot of group leaders are type A's. It's hard to let go of the control. You have to do it. You will not survive if you don't, because your group will never get larger than what you personally can do unless you create a system in which you empower your other group leaders and your members to go out, be fruitful and prosper, right? So that's why this is so important. We talked about training. If you have people that are coming just for a special event, don't forget to give them training too. Usually what I do is about 3 to 5 days, sometimes a week or two in advance of a big event, I create a written instruction guide for everybody who's going to be volunteering at the event. It goes to every single advisory board leader, it goes to all the staff, it goes to all of the volunteers who've already signed up for that event. And I say, please read this before you get there. Because then you've already told them most of the things they need to know, and then when they get to the event, you can give them a quick update of, actually, the information table is going to be over here, and we're going to be doing the book signing at 8:45 and not 8:30. And then you don't have to sit there and talk at people forever either. That also helps them know how to resolve things so they're not coming to you for, where's the tape? Where are the markers? Because if you said the supply box will be there at 7 o'clock, it'll be at the information desk, done. Or, I know that might be a little bit too complicated, but. The other thing you can do is use checklists and create binders. Write it down. Write it down, and put it in a central location where the next people can find it, okay? If you do not have a website given to you by your school or an email address, create a Google account that is a generic email that is for your group. So whatever freethinkers at something@gmail.com. Then, who does not know what Google Docs is at this point? Okay, good. That's one out of the whole room is great. Google Docs is like online Office, okay? It's free. You can collaborate. You can share documents. So what you do is you create all these resources, have them be set up by the group email account, and then you share them with whoever you want. But that way, when your president graduates, all the information is still there, and it's basically like a virtual binder that you're handing off to the next leadership of your group. Okay? And you don't lose anything when somebody's computer crashes because it's in the ether. So use checklists, event planning, event management, if there are specific things of how you make deposits for your campus bank account, room reservations, food reservations, everything. I used to say create resource binders, but now just create Google collections, right? There's also a new thing now with Google Sites that I just found out about the other day, where you can create a website that uses your Google Docs to pull the information into the site, and it organizes it like a wiki. But all the information is still in the documents, and you can actually edit it from the document or from the website. It's really cool. So just create a virtual binder, because then you don't have to worry about anything happening to the physical thing either. Yeah, the other thing with Google Docs is you can create collections of documents. You can share permissions with various people. So your board can have access to edit the document, but then you can make it public so that anybody else can look at it. So you don't have to worry about them messing up your information or going in and editing something if they don't know what they're doing. All right, so here's an example of a checklist. So here's all the things that you need to do before a meeting, who it's assigned to. When it's completed, they would fill out this column. And then you set the deadlines based on the standards that are already established. So you create a general one, and then you just make a new checklist for each event that you do. Here's one of my quick start guides. This is the instructions for setting up the information table. This way I don't have to be there even. Okay? They have the information right there. They have the box of supplies. They can just follow the instructions and get it done. I also do event kits, and this is a really big thing that I think will be very helpful for you guys. Go to Office Max and buy a pack of these clear poly envelopes. Clear is important, because then you can see what's in it. Okay? They last way longer than manila envelopes, and if you lose one, you lost $1.50. It's not that big of a deal. And in here, you guys can come out and look at this afterwards. I will stick around here. I know that we have lunch going on real quick here, but it actually tells you what should be in the packet, so that way when they start to run out, they know what to ask for to fill things back up. It also has information so it can find its way home. Okay? So say you did a big outreach tabling event and you dropped it in the common area of your student union. This says, call this person, tell them that I have your packet, and they'll bring it back to you. Okay? This way, you know that everybody has all the information that they need in one place, and you don't have to worry about one-off grabbing this or that or the other thing. I also use what's called an event bag. All of our events are held off-site because we only have an office space. We don't have a meeting room. So I have folders, a money box, and anything else that needs to go to or from the event. And they have tables, information table, welcome table. And so if there's anything that needs to go to the event, it goes in the right folder. The people at the event know to go to the bag, grab their folder, take out any information. And then if they need things, or they need to send me a note, or there was a problem, they write it down, they stick it back in the folder, the bag goes back to the office, and nothing gets lost. Okay? So you can do that however you find useful for your event. I also do event binders. Actually, this one at the bottom is this thing all splayed out. Okay? Where you can, for specific events, if you have resources that you use all the time, like a member list or forms that you want to have at each event, just create a binder, and that lives in your event bag or event bin. Okay? Again, find clear ones. The Rubbermaid ones with the white tops are awesome. I use those for everything. And then this one up here is for postering. Okay? One way to piss off a barista is to go and ask them for tape. Okay? Take your own tape with you. Okay? And take extra thumbtacks, because a lot of times they'll have a posting board where you can just stick things up. Well, it's not cool to cover up other people's stuff or to take their thumbtacks. So just take some with you, and that way if there aren't any extras, you don't have to worry about it. Okay? Retention, I'm going to just rush over. Get to know your people so that they feel at home and they are willing to continue working for you. And just know that life happens, right? People are going to graduate, people are going to transfer. So be prepared for turnover. Okay? And after somebody does something for you, ask them, how did it go? Have some sort of way that they can give you feedback and evaluation. Because if they really, really hated doing an outreach table, you don't want to ask them again to do it. Give them the job where they are sitting at home doing database work, because some people like that better, right? And then capture the feedback that you get in their contact records if it has something to do with likes or dislikes for jobs, or if they have feedback about how to do something better, make sure that you capture that, because that's a really good way to say that I value your input, is to actually take their suggestions and put it into practice. Did I say thank you? Tell people thank you all the time. I probably say it too much, honestly, but really, it still feels good every time someone tells me thank you, so you really can't say it enough, okay? And that's, you can verbally say it, you can write them a quick email, send them a text, post on their Facebook page. That's a fun one, because then everybody else gets to see it too, right? Or tag them in a post on your group page so that everybody in your group knows, hey, wow, Steve's really doing a lot of work to help keep the group going, and they may even get a thank you from somebody else. If you get budgeting from your school, see if you can do like appreciation gifts, or you guys are students. People love to give students stuff. So go to the subway or whatever and say, hey, I'm doing an appreciation gift for my leader or my volunteers. Can you guys donate a couple free subs or something like that? And like I said, incorporate their ideas. Yeah, and I already said the turnover. So life happens, be ready to let people go, but be gracious about it. Tell them thank you even if they screwed up, okay? Because they still gave their time. Even if it ended badly, they still gave their time, and it's still important to let them know that you valued them, okay? And if it's bad, probably the second one is invite them to volunteer again in the future. Maybe they just have a really busy semester this semester, but next semester they've only got 8 credits and they would love to help out again. So tell them, you know, I really appreciate you working for us the last 2 years. I know your life is really busy now, but if it slows down and you want to get back involved, just give me a call. We'd love to have you help out again. So that is the super rushed version. Those of you who are really starving, go get food, but I'll hang out here for a few minutes if you have any questions. If you want these slides and the data dump, come up here and give me your name and phone number. Great. Thank you.